welcome to the D3D4 Football Podcast with me, your host, James Richards.
Yes, hello, welcome back to another D3D4 Football Podcast. Firstly, apologies for not being here last week. It couldn't be helped. I had to prepare two autistic children for school after a long gap, and the anxiety levels in my house were akin to Oldham defending a corner. So, it wasn't easy. So I decided not to take the opportunity to record a podcast. So apologies for that, but we are back, and we have plenty to talk about this week. Let's just check in with Chris and Ed. So Ed, how have you been in this couple of weeks that we've had?
I've been on cloud nine, James, for quite obvious reasons, but yeah.
Yeah, it seems unbelievable. We'll talk about Burton, but it does seem unbelievable what's going on there. Interesting fact was that in his 11 games in charge, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank has picked up the record points per game for any new manager in 11 games, other than Mick Harford at Luton in that 2018-19 season. At this level in League One. I mean, that's remarkable. Just utterly remarkable when you consider Mick Harford came into Luton when they were on the up and up. No way can you say that about Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank and Dino Marbury. Blimey. Chris, how you been, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. It's been a standard couple of weeks as an Oldham fan, enjoying a bit of the football, not enjoying other parts, getting on with my work. We've changed manager.
David Wheater's gone.
David Wheater's gone. Just the normal stuff, really.
Change manager again. Oh no, just once this week. Okay.
Just the one manager. It's been a pretty stable couple of weeks.
God, yeah. Dear me. Right. Big shout out to all the patrons who have helped us keep things going. I've renewed the website for another year. I'm just going to try and get a bit more content up on there. It's been a bit of a quiet time just due to the hectic schedule that we're all living at the moment, but I do want to try and get a bit more content for everyone on the website. We'll endeavour to do that. Also, hopefully get our YouTube channel restarted once there's actually something more interesting to film than all of us sitting at a computer talking. Yeah, maybe some actual matches that we can attend to, do some interviews, stuff like that.
Can you imagine that? Actually going to a football ground. We're nearly there.
Yeah,
touch wood.
Unbelievable. I had to say the EFL Trophy final, the 2019-20 final that was played yesterday. Imagine waiting a year to have a final that can still not be in front of fans, only to have 120 minutes of a 0-0 and then to lose on penalties to Salford.
I mean, to be fair, both goalkeepers were on it yesterday.
They're good keepers, aren't they?
McGillivray was good and Cladke was good as well. They were both very good.
But still, I don't like that competition. So there'll be little praise for it from me. There is another final today, isn't there?
This season's final.
This season's final. So Salford will have to hand that cup over pretty quick. Hope they haven't damaged it. Get it for 24 hours. Yeah, oh dear. But anyway, right, back to the bread and butter. Let's jump in and start this week's review in League One.
League One.
And I'm going to start, unfortunately for me, Hull versus Oxford. It's 5 wins in a row now for Hull, and to be honest, apart from Oxford starting quite brightly, they kept us at arm's length, and we're a team that are in fairly decent nick at the moment, but it was never really in doubt. Keane Lewis-Potter was superb, and he's been an excellent young player, someone we highlighted in our pre-season preview as a player to watch, and he's certainly not disappointed. One thing I do not like, is on the Quest highlights in the commentary, they make it themed. So the Harry Potter theme, tedium, which
so is there no one else in the world called Potter? Is that generally what it is?
There's actually a bloke who exists called Ron Weasley in real life. I think my sister might have served him somewhere in one of her jobs, and she did a double take on the name, and he was like, "Yes, I hate that book and I hate that movie."
Oh yay, Harry Potter!
Yeah. Imagine that.
I like the guy called John Lewis, who every Christmas gets bombarded with tweets about how good his advert is.
That's right, yeah, even though it's... Isn't the actual John Lewis at John Lewis Retail, and he just pretends sometimes to be...
Yeah.
I think they do give him like a free hamper or something every year.
Yeah, they sent it a hamper
for the
putting up with it.
But anyway, I digress. Hull, very good performance, very solid. They're basically a championship team in all but name. And I don't want to say this race is over because you never know. This is League One. We have the wonderful habit of teams going on winning and losing runs. But actually, when you look at that squad, George Honeyman and Gavin White were excellent. They should have probably combined for a goal at the start, I think, of the second half. Elder's done really well. Left back, he's been superb. I hope Louis Coyle's all right, by the way. A really awful clash of head with his own player, Malik Wilson, who came together, and he was prone on the ground for probably 5 or 6 minutes before they managed to get him sat up. So concussion protocols will probably suggest he's out for a while. They do have, of course, Josh Emmanuel, who can just slide in. Not bad right back replacement there, especially when Oxford had Anthony Ford. Not a player I'd like seeing playing at right back, if I'm honest. But we've said it before, guys. I'll go to you, Ed, because you've been very hot on Hull. It does look, doesn't it, increasingly like it's their promotion to lose now.
Yeah, I'd agree, but you still can't be 100%, can you? Because I think, as Quest pointed out yesterday, you've got to take everything with a sort of an asterisk at the end because everyone's played a different number of games. I think Hull are currently 6 clear of Peterborough, but Peterborough have got 3 games in hand on them. So they're still not guaranteed to be top of the league, and I still think they can be quite patchy. I think we had a period a few months ago where we convinced the Hull were just going to go and get themselves cleared, then they hit a bit of a rough patch, and now they're back on a good run of form again. And you're always not entirely sure if they might hit a bit of a snag again before the end of the season. But I really do fancy this side the top 2. They should be one of the 2 best teams to me.
They should be. And I'm looking at 4th place Sunderland and their form and the sort of style that now Lee Johnson's implemented. I know they didn't play yesterday, but they're one to watch because they have 3 games in hand. They'll be second if they win them all based on the table at the moment. Obviously, Peterborough have also played 33. Lincoln played just 1 more. So it's very, very tight. Really good, what you want to see. I think Doncaster, slipping away a little bit. Not really as solid as they have been. They only managed a 0-0 draw with a kind of more solid Northampton Town. Northampton have been a little bit better of late, actually picking up a couple of good results. And that is not a 0-0 to be sniffed at from their point of view, but from Doncaster, it's another opportunity to pick up maximum points dropped. 5 wins in a row, as I say, for Hull. The only team who can shine a light to that, and Ed, I never thought I'd say it, but it's Burton, who've got 6 wins in a row. It's a record for their EFL time. Not a record, I mean, they won in the conference, didn't they? Their promotion season, 12. Mm-hmm. Was it 12 in a row they won?
I think it was, yes.
Yeah, I remember that season, because Oxford were in the same division as you at that point. And that was amazing. You went 18 games unbeaten and won 12 in a row. So, by no means the best in the club's history, but in the EFL history, it's fantastic. And it wasn't something we saw coming, let's be honest. And I mean, I've put out all the sort of stats and the hype about this on Twitter. I've even joked about playoffs. And I think, did I start like Burton fans hoping?
I think you got the hopes a bit up. No, let's not. I think, to be honest, if they end up top half, that's worth shouting about anyway. Playoffs need to win every game for the rest of the season, really, for that. And that's not going to happen.
Well, I don't know. You've won.
Well, it's never going to happen now.
No.
I think there might be dark horses,
I think they're dark horses. Yeah.
News is coming.
Yeah, I think because I mean they beat our Shady Zebras, and if you beat Shady Zebras, I mean Shady Zebras are becoming sort of less shady all the time, aren't they?
I mean the Shady Zebras handed to them on a silver plate yesterday.
I've never seen defending quite as generous as that.
It was horrific.
It
that
was
first
terrible.
half. I was generally watching that first half thinking, have Crew given up defending for Lent? It was genuinely that bad. The first goal comes within 10 minutes. It's one of Tom Hamer's long throws. It bounces twice in the box. No Crew player gets near it. It bounces twice. Kane Hemmings, being the poacher he is, manages to come on to the end of the chance, gets 2 attempts at it, puts it in. So you 1-0 up from there. And I remember watching that thinking, okay, great, but what on earth was that? How has that managed to actually get all the way through there? And then it just continued from there, really. Omar Beckles had a really forgettable day yesterday.
Yeah, he looked poor for both the other goals, didn't he?
Yeah, second goal from a goal kick from Ben Garrett, sent upfield. Lucas Akins gets the flick on. I think Beckles tries to control it with his chest, lets it run across his body instead, go behind him. Hemmings just runs in behind and finishes. And then the third goal, an intercepted pass from Rio Edebisi, if I remember right. Hemmings again gets round Omar Beckles, 1-1 with Dave Richardson, finishes. First EFL hat-trick for him. Absolutely fantastic. He's up to 13th in the season. But you can't deny that Crewe gave them it, and it's probably the most comfortable second half of a Burton Albion game I've watched for years. You just never really felt like Crewe were going to do enough. I thought Callum Ainley looked a bit lively on the left-hand side, trying to create some opportunities. But if they did get him behind, they were met by Ben Garrett, who was ever reliable. He's a Crewe product. Going back to Gresty Road for the first time since leaving, you could tell he wanted that clean sheet, and he fully deserved it. He was excellent.
I was going to mention that. Yeah, I think he was he unlucky to be released from there. I mean, to be honest, they've got two good goalkeepers, so maybe he had to go to find more.
I had to talk to the Rolling Men podcast in the week, and I think they talked about how he started off as a really bright prospect, but never really improved towards the end of his time. So they felt he was kind of stagnated with his development.
Yeah.
He's gone to Burton and he's become the number one. He's been sensational.
Yeah, and I hope that continues. And I hope Burton's form continues. I mean, to win 9 of 11, I mean, it's 2.45 points per game. I mean, if that you keep that up for the season, you win the title. I mean, that's how good it is. And, you know, we talk about Dino, Marmria and Jim Floyd Hasselbank. I mean, I know, obviously, firsthand that Dino had a big hand in your January recruitment because Jimmy's been out of the game a little bit of time. So, you know, good support, good relationship those two have got. And it's worked brilliantly. It's worked brilliantly. I mean, there was talk about Jimmy coming in as the director of football and Dino being the manager. I think your chairman doesn't like changing structures. I think he likes the traditional structure. So he's gone with
I think as well, it's the attraction of it. Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank is a big name in English football. I think if you make him the manager, you're telling a lot of players you come and play under this guy who is a Premier League legend and a well-known name in English football. I think that makes it more attractive as well. So I think it works both ways.
I think your relegation worries are over. It's and I do jest about playoffs, but it would be a miracle. It would be amazing to see you even get, like you say, top half. But brilliant stuff, and a fully deserved win yet again. Rochdale beat Lincoln. That was the result of the day. 2-1 win and fully deserved as well. Lincoln seemed to struggle if teams overrun them in midfield. They were playing up against a 3-5-2. So, you know, but Lincoln did have some key people missing. Let's not pretend it was all roses for them. I think Bridcut and Grant were not in the starting 11. I can only assume that's fitness related. Bridcut, I think, is an important player in that team because they are, you know, they don't have the biggest depth in midfield. I like Conor McRandles, but they had Eden and James Jones in that midfield. And don't get me wrong, those are good players, but you know, Liam Bridcut, I assume fitness-wise, because he didn't come on, and Jorge Grant missing. So, but well played, Rochdale. You know, very good goal from Rathbone. Yeah, they were. They deserved it. Completely deserved it. What do we do about Brian Barry Murphy? The players clearly like him, are playing for him, but no one can deny the results. What was that, their first win in 13 or something ridiculous? Yeah, well,
this is the thing with this League One relegation battle and why I'm enjoying it so much. You generally look at the team. You look. No, I was enjoying it anyway, to be honest. But you look at the teams down there, you think, all right, this one's probably going to fall away now. And then they go and win twice in a week and get themselves out of it. It keeps changing constantly, that bottom four. And it honestly feels like at the minute we could go into the last day with nothing decided, which would be unreal to say. It's so tight down there at the moment and so competitive in this whole league.
It's wonderful. I mean, the whole bottom four, bar Wigan, have 31 points, don't they? And Wigan have 33 level with Northampton. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
yes.
And the fact that Burton are now, and to be fair, Shrewsbury, who were looking like dead ducks as well at one point, you know, those two have gone on great runs. Bristol Rovers, big win in midweek, and probably felt they should have won yesterday against AFC Wimbledon, which was for Wimbledon an important game not to lose at all costs, really, because you're opening up that gap. And even Northampton have picked up, like you say, wins. So everyone's doing it. Wigan have had a good time of late. So yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, Swindon threw their game away slightly yesterday with some pretty suspect play, but actually, Gillingham with a very big win, 3-1. They won at the County Ground yesterday. Verdane Oliver has been superb this season, and this is a man who wasn't considered by a number of teams he played for in non-league that good, really. A lot of Morecambe fans didn't rate him that highly. He then went to Northampton, where he did shine in a system that sort of suited his physical attributes. But Chris, I have to say, Gillingham, I don't know, they play a style of football. We've talked about it before. You know, finding a way to win is all that matters. And with Verdane Oliver in that sort of form, they're now only 4 points behind Ipswich, who are in the playoffs. And this playoff race is heating up intensely.
Yeah, I mean, we've spoken before about how entertaining the League One playoff push is. It always is every season in recent years. But you're right, Vadaine Oliver's been superb in recent weeks, although coming up against a Swindon side that really aren't flying by any means at all. But as you say, 11th in the league. They have played a couple more games than Ipswich, but as we always say, you've got to win games in hand. So could we see a late push from them, do you think?
Well, I think so. I think any of those teams, even Blackpool, only played 31 games, remember? So, and I think, didn't they say on Quest yesterday, if they finished on points per game now, they'd be in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
Wow.
I do not have faith now in Crewe, I'm sorry to say, all our Crewe listeners, just because the last couple of performances have been indicative of a slight drop-off in form, linked to the fact that the record of Crewe against the best teams is not good enough to trouble the playoffs. Blackpool's obviously missing an opportunity yesterday in the Fylde derby, 0-0 they drew. So they'll be disappointed with that. But with those games in hand, and you'd always have points over games in hand, I reckon, every single time, because games in hand are never easy to win, as we've seen with Carlisle. But yeah, Gillingham, fantastic performance. Carl Dempsey, Vadaine Oliver, they've got like a core group who have been so impressive. And I put Jack Bonham in that. He had a bit of a blip earlier in this season, but he's a very good goalkeeper. But then they've got the likes of Conor Ogilvie. I think Jack Tucker's done exceptionally well. Jordan Graham has done well. Carl Dempsey, Vadaine Oliver. And you can get, John Akinday's a bit part player in some respects, but he's still a useful player to have. So, yeah, keep an eye on the Gills. It's an interesting situation we see ourselves in the playoff race. Indeed it is. And obviously, Paul Cook, we didn't talk about last week, but I think we mentioned it on the previous podcast of the rumours, but Paul Cook is finally in at Ipswich. Chris, he's a great manager, isn't he? Let's be honest.
Oh yeah, and it's exactly what Ipswich need is just a change of personnel. We spoke so many times, under the previous manager about the complaints he was making about, the fans, and there was just such a negative feel around the club that something really, really did have to change. And Paul Cook is a superb manager, no doubt about it. I think he'll do good things with Ipswich. He
looks very enthused to be back. I look at his record and I think it just speaks for itself. I mean, he took Chesterfield from League 2, then into the playoffs in League 1, I believe. He's taken Portsmouth up from League 2 as title winners. He's taken Wigan up from League 1 as title winners. He would have overachieved hugely with Wigan had it not been for the outrageous off-the-field issues last season. So, unbelievable job.
He's a championship level manager, is what he is to me. He's what Ipswich need. They still need this takeover, which sounds like it's going to happen. Sounds quite encouraging with the signs. Potentially they make the playoffs this year. I think it's still too difficult to say with how tight everything is. But if they don't this season, you've got to heavily fancy them next year with that new owner and the new manager in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, big club, big ambitions, great manager. He'll get them playing very good football. They beat an Argyle side who are, I think, going to be safe. Absolutely, no doubt about it in my mind. But they'll be a mid-table. Not bad for a team returning to this level. Something to build on for next season. MK Dons as well. A 3-2 win over Accrington Stanley. Really like Cameron Jerome, I have to say. And Matt O'Reilly, the guy that I think has done superbly well since signing. I mean, they've got a good team. Again, you saw the good, the bad and the ugly from them, though, yesterday, where they take a 2-goal lead, some lovely play, Cameron Jerome, some superb finishing, but the defending for, I think it was the first goal they conceded was diabolical. Trying to be, sometimes I do get the process. Russell Martin's got a process, hasn't he? But sometimes pragmatism rules in those sort of areas where you're trying to play out in your own corner when you're under heavy pressure. Just launch it out, reshape, and then sort of build again. And I think that would have frustrated Russell, because I'm sure he's not the kind of manager who says play out under all circumstances. I think players have to sort of take the lead and have a bit of common sense at times, and that was just dreadful goal to concede. Put themselves under needless pressure. But who the chap? Was it the left wing back? The left winger got 3 assists in this one, Ed?
Matthew Sorinola, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, very promising. That ball for the winner was just...
Yeah, I was about to say, what He just floats it in. It's just superb.
Oh, it's Banoffee pie good, that.
Yeah.
It really is. Like, I'm talking about proper Banoffee pie, not the stuff you buy in, like, insert supermarket name here. Yeah, I'm talking about the stuff that's actually, that was a sumptuous cross. Lovely. And a great finish as well. So, good to see MK Dons getting the win. Now, I do like the fact that he's got philosophy and he plays that way, but I can see why it could be frustrating.
I think there was I had a talk with Matt from Gills in the Blood about this. I think last week after they lost to Gillingham, they're teething MK Dons. I think is the best word to describe them. Russell Martin, like you say, has clearly got away, wants to play, and I reckon over time that's going to get really, really good. But for now, I still think they're a team you can get at, just because they've still got that vulnerability in defence. And there's these times where not always they look to break lines as quickly as they can. They're quite, patient at the back, and often work from side to side, not really looking for many openings. And at the moment, I think they're a team you can still really get at this season, but potentially next year when he's fully got them integrated, they could be a real force.
I agree. Yeah, I think stick with him as well. Stick with him. We see far too many clubs, not mentioning any names here, Chris, who just sack managers. Well,
I don't know why I'm getting blamed.
Yeah, I'm blaming you actually. Yes, but
personally,
it's all your fault. Everything is COVID.
Yeah, fair enough.
Oldham's woes. It's all down to you, mate. But stick with him. He's a good manager, and he'll do well. And the final result to talk about was Charlton 1, Shrewsbury 1. Charlton again. We know that they struggle at home. They had more efforts on goal, only 2 on target, more possession, but a very good point on the road for the Shrews. And I love the fact that Simon Worley nearly scored that outrageous effort from miles out, because that would have been a brilliant goal. It was, I think, in the 17-18 playoffs when Shrewsbury played Charlton and obviously knocked them out. But that John Nolan goal still sticks in my mind, which he scored at the Valley. Absolutely superb goal. And that probably, I think if that had gone in from Simon Morley, that would have been better. Maybe not for the occasion. I'm sure Shrewsbury fans will have their say on that. But it was an excellent effort. But a 1-1 draw. Shrews keep picking up points, keep doing well. I do hope their manager's all right. Have we had an update on him? Because he went back into hospital, didn't he?
Yeah, I've not heard anything else.
No, I've not heard anything else.
No.
Well, from all of us here, needless to say, we wish him all the best, because it's such a horrible disease, this COVID, and to see him suffering is really, really sad. So hoping for a speedy recovery for Steve Cottrell, because he's doing a fantastic job at Salop. Let's have a look at the League One table. We've got Hull top, like you say, they have got 68 points. That's a 7-point gap, but they've played 2 more than third place Lincoln, so that gap could close quite quickly. Peterborough second on the 62 points, but again 3 games in hand, and this is where it all gets very complicated. You've got Lincoln, Sunderland, Doncaster and Ipswich in the playoff places. Doncaster played at least 1 less, but 2 less than some, and I think 4 less than Hull, so it's crazy. Portsmouth now drop out of the playoffs, and Kenny Jackett, the Kenny Jackett discontenters are back, and maybe fair enough.
You can't blame them, can you?
They've been really poor of late. And
I mean, I'll be honest, they look like they're missing out on the playoffs at the minute.
They've gone back to playing Matt was up top on his own, which I just don't get why they're doing that. It was working well when they were playing him with 2 up top, with something for him to feed off, and he's just not got that.
No, I completely agree. Charlton are on 52 points, level with Portsmouth. They've played 2 more than them. And then you've got this group of teams, including Oxford, Accrington, Gillingham, and I'll stick Blackpool in there as well, who are on 50 points. The top 3 there on 50 points. Blackpool on 49, but Blackpool only played 31 games, so that is the asterisk of this top half. They could fly up the league, and they're playing really well, good form. Points per game wise, I think they've averaged over 2 points per game in their last 18 or so matches, so they really are in good form over a long period of time. So keep an eye on the Tangerines, doing great stuff. At the bottom, Wimbledon, Swindon and Rochdale are all there on 31 points, and their goal difference is almost identical. In fact, the bottom three's goal difference is Wimbledon minus 24, Swindon minus 24, Rochdale minus 21, and Wigan minus 23. Northampton and Bristol Rovers just outside are minus 21 and minus 19, and they are only, and Northampton are on 33 points as well. I mean, this is crazy, absolutely crazy.
Did you hear John Sheridan yesterday saying he might have to consider his position?
Yeah, he's going to wait until we finish recording this podcast and then he's going to resign. No doubt.
That is the standard way. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it happens every week. So let's talk about him leaving now, so that we cover that.
Yes. So what do you make of John Sheridan leaving Swindon?
Yeah, makes sense. He's done rubbish. Move on. Yeah. No, I think if you're a Swindon fan, you look at what changing managers has done for Burton. You think, hang on a minute, there's some logic in that. But yeah, no, they haven't been good enough. They lost to Oxford. I didn't rub it in on this podcast. I was biting my tongue, but I was very happy that we beat them because the way we capitulated in the first game, the Kazan, that was terrible. So yeah, we managed to get that win. We didn't make it easy for ourselves. It was a terrible bit of defending at the end. We like defending badly against Swindon in the last minute this season, but we got the win in the end. So let's move on. Let's move into another division full of delights. It's League Two.
League Two.
And we'll start with Newport this week because they played Morecambe. They've been on a terrible run and now they've won 3 in a row and they're right back in the automatic promotion race, Ed. And they've won 3 in a row now for the first time since October. So Kevin Ellison can't.
I love this.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
This is the best thing that's happened this week.
And the way he was treated, like I like Derek Adams as a manager, but the way he froze him out there was nothing short of a disgrace. It was terrible. For a man who'd
one season off 10, wasn't he?
Yeah, he'd been there. Like he was a great servant for Morecambe, and he tweeted out. Do you remember the sign on the training room door or something that said, "All players over to the AstroTurf except Kev Ellison, who's training on his own in the gym," or something. Yeah,
I remember it. And you've got a player that's had such a established career with Morecambe. He's 1 year off a testimonial, and you do that to him. I don't get why you do it.
There's ways to treat people.
I also love the fact that now at 42 years old, he's contributing to a team that could be in League One next season.
Oh, he's just brilliant.
42 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, we're talking, who's that? Is it Stanley Matthews who went on playing until he was 50?
Yeah.
So
he wants that record, doesn't he?
Yeah. I know Oldham had Ayres played till he was 45, I think.
David Ayres, did he?
Yeah, he was playing till he was into his 40s, yeah.
Blimey, yeah. Yeah, I remember David Ayres playing. Was it David Ayres who scored that free kick against Oxford?
Probably.
Yeah.
It's the sort of thing he did.
Yeah, so I was right behind that. Yeah. At the Manor in 2000, 2001. And I thought, well, we haven't lost. And they got free kick in the 90th minute and he scored it with an absolute belting effort. Yeah, yes, that season. Anyway, so a 3-1 win for Newport. Back at it, back maybe at the best. They're playing at Cardiff now on a pitch that is the best in this. They've gone from playing on the worst pitch in the 92 to the best pitch in League Two. So there can be no excuses from them. And a big 3 points. What are we thinking now, Ed? I mean, they dropped off really badly. Are you thinking that they're now sufficiently returned to their best to challenge that top 3? Because some very, very good teams, including Bolton, that we'll have to talk about.
I still find it quite difficult to say, to be honest. With this whole season, you're never quite sure what's going to happen with Thorpe. I think Newport have got some interesting fixtures coming up. They go to Port Vale, they've got Leyton Orient and Scunthorpe to play at home. They go to Barrow, they've got Bolton, Carlisle. They've got Cheltenham on the penultimate day of the season, which is going to be a really fun one. I do think certainly this new pitch is going to help them out. Certainly with that, you couldn't ignore how awful that Rodney Parade pitch was, how difficult it was for any team to play football on it, really, and it seemed to be the wayside that cope more with it normally as well, which is quite interesting.
I think because Newport set up to play a certain style this season with Bowman sitting deep, and then it didn't work because they don't have Jamil Matt, who, I mean, not being unfair to him, he can play. He's proved he can play in a great footballing side like he is with Forest Green, but he was more key in their sort of direct style last season.
Well, Ryan Taylor can be that kind of player, I think.
Yeah, Ryan Taylor's knees don't seem to last very well, though, do they? That's the only thing. His health.
That's one of the reasons they've got so many striker options, though. People like Maynard, Scrimshaw, Taylor, Telford. They've got loads of options, so if needs be to rotate during a game, they can do that certainly.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I say, a big win yesterday. The red card played a big part, That wasn't a straight red, though. I mean, if you look at that from anyone's perspective as a neutral, I didn't think that was a straight red. I thought it was a bit harsh anyway. I don't know what you guys made of it.
I'm trying to remember which one it was now. I mean,
he is the last man. It's whether people think the guys, I can't remember who it was, whether they think he's going to get 1-on-1 with the keeper and score or not.
Yeah.
That's, I guess, what the referees decided. I kind of see what he was given, to be honest, because he was the last man.
I suppose. It did change the game, though, in such a big match, so you can see why there were some frustrated fans in the Morecambe camp. But yeah, Kevin Ellison, we don't want to condone behaviour where, gloating, but in that circumstance,
I would have done the same.
Yeah,
I would have done the same.
He got what he deserved, in my opinion, on that time.
Because there's a great image though. Derek Adams knows what's coming. He's just looking straight forwards, and there's this Kevin Ellison shouting at him, and Adams just looking forward like, "Oh, please go away, please."
Let the ground open up and swallow me.
He dealt with it brilliantly, Derek Adams. Let's be fair.
Yeah.
Right, moving on. Oldham lost 4-2 to Cambridge, despite having a 2-goal lead and missing a penalty. So Oldham doing what they do best, but they sacked Harry Kewell. And we didn't get to talk about that, and I was fuming about this decision.
It happened this week, didn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we would have missed it, actually. Did it happen on Sunday?
It did, yeah.
So we'd have missed it on the last pod anyway. But rubbish decision. Terrible, terrible, terrible decision, because Harry Kewell, despite the flaws of your defensive play, was getting a style that was starting to come together. I think there was a lot of promise there.
Just what's the point?
Yeah, no,
I don't get what we achieve, I've not been overwhelmed. I've spoken about it on the podcast. I've not been overwhelmed by the performances we've had. I think we've been poor at times, but it's clear that we've got the potential to play exciting football. You give Harry Kewell another summer and you're looking at something vaguely exciting next season. Until we make structural change, because it's not the manager. There is a firm continuation with each manager, and it's the recruitment policy and the difficult owners at the club.
That's the sporting director, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Utterly stupid that a guy who is in charge of recruitment doesn't ever lose his job while managers are falling by the wayside, even though it's not their players that they get to put on the pitch, or not the players that they choose necessarily.
And I look at the form that we had before Christmas when the sporting director was out of the country, and I look at the form after Christmas when the sporting director is in the country. And I wouldn't want to overinterpret what's gone on, but it makes for interesting reading.
Yeah, and then I think if you continue, it's still just depressing stats that Oldham produce. You haven't won a promotion since 1991. The fact that I remember that and I was a kid at the time is just...
And I wasn't born.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? Ridiculous. But the fact that you haven't had a top half finish since, 2009, the fact that you haven't had a manager keep his job for the entire season since 2014...
Oh, James, stop.
Oh, no, it's just terrible, isn't it?
It's depressing me saying it.
Yeah.
It's just dreadful. I actually got myself into a situation where I genuinely thought Oldham were actually going to keep a manager for a full season. I don't know why I did it. I really thought Cool was going to last the season. I have no idea why I thought that.
And the thing is they've brought in Curl to the end of the season, but what we've done with the last few managers is the owner will put out a statement saying, well, we've made mistakes in the past, but here we've finally got the man that we've been wanting to get.
Yeah.
Have they?
Since we came in. And it's what he said about Harry Kewell. It's what he said about Paul Scholes. It's what he said about Lauren Benede.
Lauren Benede. Everyone remembers Lauren Benede. He was there. He was that French bloke they had for. Who
again? I wasn't keen that we brought him in, but we sacked him at a time when he started to look all right.
You mentioned Benede. Scholes. How long was that? 30 days?
30 days, yeah.
And
obviously Dino Mamria last season, who...
and he's not done anything since, has he?
Well, again, they put out a statement at the time saying, we've got someone here that we can work with. Obviously, we've both got North African backgrounds, so I think we can work really well together. And then, come summer, they're sacked, and no manager gets a transfer window at this club, suspiciously.
Awful decision, and paying the price. Let's talk Cambridge though. Fantastic win for them yesterday. Really good comeback, because 2-0 down and they were 3-2 up at half-time, the intensity that they showed to do that, and they're a team that have been on a great run of form. They look like they're a side that genuinely are in this promotion race. I have to admit, I was really sceptical about them pre-season. I actually thought they might be at the other end of the table. But no, they've been brilliant. And yeah, they've been sort of recently a bit inconsistent. I think the last sort of 7 games they've gone win, lose, win, lose, win, lose, win. So it's not ideal to have that record at the business end of the season. They've got Forest Green and Carlisle next, and Morecambe and Tranmere. Oh my goodness. Okay, so here we go. Cambridge, your next 5 games are Forest Green home, Carlisle away, Morecambe at home, Tranmere away, Exeter at home.
Paul Mullins licking his lips.
He's
eyeing up 30.
He'll get there, won't he?
The way he's going, he probably will. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
What's he on at the moment?
He's on 24.
Wow.
With 36 played, so they've got 10 games left.
That's 6 goals in 10 games. He can do it. I mean, I think the next 5 games will tell you all we need to know about Cambridge's realistic chances of automatic promotion. I know it sounds simplistic, but they're playing the teams that are there or thereabouts around them.
The problem they got at them is they played more than everyone else up there at the moment. So they need to keep winning games just to give them the chance and then keep an eye on others and see how they do. But if they're playing those lot next, that could really help them if they win those.
Callum Burton yesterday pulling off a really good save for that penalty.
That penalty, yes.
That penalty.
Didn't he take it off Bobby Grant?
Because obviously Kyler Dunn was on for a hat-trick, so,
I do agree with everyone who says just the designated penalty taker is designated. Yeah. Don't even interfere.
This is like
the thing is you put pressure on yourself, don't you? If you've made a big thing.
That Malik Wilkes situation, isn't it? It's like the opposite of it, where it doesn't work out when you reluctantly give it the all over.
Yeah, no, exactly. But it is what it is. Keith Curl is there at Oldham until the end of the season. If he makes it to the end of the season.
That's actually not unrealistic to say.
No, that's what I hate about that joke.
Yeah, it really could be. I mean, I don't know why he'd want to get involved, personally. But there you go.
Do I.
There you go. We've got so many games to talk about. We are running out of time. Carlisle back to winning ways. 3-1 win against informed Bradford. Fantastic result for them. Good to see Ofrande Zanzala finally showing a little bit of why he was signed and why a lot of people, including ourselves, actually thought he was going to be a good signing for them. Nice to see him score those goals. Great.
Did you see the second goal?
Yes. Oh, yes.
It was a pylon on the edge of the goal line.
Yeah, it's the first time I've seen an actual scrum take place in a football match.
I mean, Sam Hornby was in there somewhere.
Somewhere
the goalkeeper was in that. I don't know where.
What a delivery by Callum Guy, though. That was lovely. His set piece deliveries yesterday were the difference, actually. In fairness, and they had to cling on. They're nervous, aren't they, Carlisle, at the moment? They don't have that kind of assured feeling about them that they had earlier in the season. They look very, very nervy. A little bit. I mean, this can happen. You lose momentum, and then you lose some matches, and it can happen. But I'm delighted for Chris Beach. I think anyone who's been a naysayer of him because they've had a bad patch needs to close their mouth fairly sharpish, from my perspective. I mean, we talk about Kuhl going at Oldham. If people seriously were talking about Beach is not the man for Carlisle, yeah.
No, he is.
Get lost. Shut up.
Absolutely is.
Unbelievable.
I mean, let's be honest. A COVID outbreak and some bad weather, to the side, and they'd still be in the automatic places.
And they can still finish. They could still well be in the playoff places at the end of the season. Yeah. And if they're not, you can still see they've made progress. Let's go back to Stephen Presley, shall we?
Oh.
Yeah, no, exactly.
God, I've forgotten. I've shaken that from my mind.
Yeah, exactly.
The turnaround of Carlisle this season has been so.
Let's have some realistic thinking. Bolton, they beat Port Vale. One stat I put out yesterday was Port Vale have not won since Darrell Clark has joined them, and Walsall have not won since he left.
Good for both teams then.
Yeah, it's been a great success that. But Bolton have not lost in 11 games. They've won 6 in a row now, is it? No, they've won 2 in a row, but they've won
9 of the last 11, I think it is.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, they've been brilliant. They've been absolutely brilliant, and they've gone on this run. They're playing good football. They were a little bit. I mean, I wouldn't say they were fortunate yesterday, but it wasn't the kind of performance that they've been putting in. They had to show the ugly side of the game, which is fair enough. If you can win ugly and you can win in a way that is kind of the Ian Evatt style, then brilliant. And absolutely, they got the result yesterday that they needed to keep this form going. Come on, guys. We had them winning the league in our pre-season predictions. Obviously, dreadful start, and perhaps we underestimated the amount of work it would take to turn this team around. But he certainly got them in the right place now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you see them top 3 end of the season? Yes or no? Let's start with you, Chris.
Yes, I do. I think their form's fantastic. It's only a few points off it now. And players like Oladapo Afolayan, who I wasn't sure how he'd do at Bolton, is starting to really show some good form. I think they've got enough about them.
Ed?
I agree. I'm looking at their upcoming games, and a lot of them are quite favourable, and you just can't ignore the form they're in. They look like the team we thought they were going to be throughout most of the season. So it might come very late into the season, but I reckon they can sneak a top 3 place at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. I have to say I agree. I'd go yes. I mean, we've now doomed them, of course, by saying that.
Going to lose on Tuesday.
Utterly do. But the thing that I like about this team now is they have depth, which they did not have before. And their run-in is no worse. It's not as bad as Cambridge's, for example.
They're playing a better formation as well. I never liked that 3-4-1-2. It was too expansive.
Well, they just left themselves open. So a team that
Just left
played
themselves
narrow,
open in central areas, yeah.
Yeah, they were overrun in centrally, and it allowed them to be cut open all too often. But they found a way of playing now, and I think everyone knows their job. I think in Kieran Lee and MJ Williams, they've got a really good set of midfielders. Yeah. George Thompson can still come in, who's been a brilliant young player for them as well. Comley and Tutt, who were their guys, I mean, they've basically not had a sniff, and I think that's quite right, because I don't think they're going to be players that can play in this system and contribute. But in that sort of front 4, if you like, Sean Miller coming back takes a bit of pressure off Owen Doyle, and then you've got some Marcus Maddison playing for them in League 2, and I know he's an enigma at the moment, but he's a good player to have. So Bolton, fantastic. And Arthur Ganoa, my man, King Arthur, he's still there, and he'll still contribute, and I like him. I think he's a good player. So Bolton doing superbly well. Crawley beat Mansfield. That's 3 wins in a row for Crawley. Puts our crepuscular Mustangs back on the map slightly. They're back in the race, aren't they? I still don't think they will be in the playoffs at the end of the season, but we shall wait and see. I think it's set in my mind, apart from Carlisle, who've played 2 less and they might sneak in. I think you're looking at 10th upwards now for this race for the playoffs. I don't know. Do you agree with that, Chris? Maybe
I think Carlisle aside, I agree.
What about you, Ed? Do you think that's realistic now?
See, this is the thing. I really like Harrogate, but I get what you're saying because they have played more than the rest. I do think Harrogate are just that team this season that you need to turn up against, otherwise you're getting beaten. If you underestimate them, you're in trouble. But I see what your point. Harrogate playing 30th, the rest of them around playing less. Yeah, I'd probably agree with 10th up, including Carlisle as well. Yeah,
Bradford might get it going again because they do have the depth. I think Harrogate, like you say, if you don't turn up against them, you get beat. But if you play well, you beat them. And that's what Forest Green did yesterday. Forest Green getting the win. 2-1 over Harrogate. So a very important win for them to keep them in the automatic promotion places. And their form's picked up a little bit. Only 1 defeat now in the last 4 games, or 5 games rather. So good stuff from them. Tranmere obviously not playing. They're in the EFL Trophy final against Sunderland. Barrow, massive result for them Friday night against a I'd say this in all earnest, piss poor Walsall performance. Dreadful. They were awful. Wet toilet paper it seems more threatening than they do. They were just...
Why? What was that comparison?
Well, yeah. But they were so bad, in terms of you just did not see them mustering a shot, let alone a clear-cut chance. If Brian Dutton is being honed as the manager, right, they need to work a bit harder because his formation is loose, disorganised. It doesn't have any it wasn't purposeful. Barrow's play was far more purposeful. They got the win that they deserved, and Rob Kelly's done a superb job there. And I think Barrow, that win has really put pressure on Southend and Grimsby, who neither could take advantage. I watched the Grimsby-Colchester game, finished 0-0, wasn't surprised at all. Linnell John Lewis missing a sitter, and that had to go in if they're to stay up. A lot of huff and puff.
How did he miss that, actually?
To be fair to him, it came at him really quickly. But
that's 3 yards out. I was just amazed that the angle was actually possible to get it over.
Yeah, just knee it in or something. Just
anything.
Anything. When you need a win, you need a win, and unfortunately, it's slipping away from them now. Yes, they might have a brighter future because of the changes off the field, but to get into the National League in a COVID year,
it's a horrible league to get out of as well. I think it's only 2 promotion spots. I
still have nightmares of that division.
Well, the question I have, you'll probably know better, James, is this season going to finish in the National League? Because I've heard all this talk for a while that they may have to void it like they've done with the North and the South.
Well, that is literally Grimsby's only hope, isn't it?
I'm still not entirely sure if that's going to happen or not.
I'm hearing from clubs there's a big group of clubs determined to finish it because obviously, Torquay, Stockport, Notts County, these teams want that league to finish. So,
Stockport are finally in a position where they've got stable ownership. They've been investing in the infrastructure. Obviously they've managed to put their foot in the mouth by changing manager. I don't know.
I thought I heard they were getting Paddy Madden from Fleetwood.
Maybe.
I don't know how true that is. That's ridiculous if they do that.
Obviously they've put their foot in the mouth of it by changing manager and not explaining why they changed manager.
Well, that's where you need to just be transparent, don't you?
Yeah.
Don't give us fluff. Just say, well, we sacked him because he's talking to other clubs.
Paddy Madden's set to sign for them.
That's crazy. Utterly crazy. So I don't know, but that would be the saving grace. But Stevenage, shout out to Stevenage. I've got it written in capital letters at the bottom of my page here. 6 clean sheets in a row. That's ridiculous.
Where did this come from?
Well, they let's be fair to them. They've never been a side that concede lots of goals. Even last season when they were dreadful, they just couldn't score them.
Yeah. They still can't score a lot of goals, but they've got a defence that's top 3 standard. The defensive record, certainly.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. And again, frustrating afternoon for Southend, who huffed and puffed, like I said, but they didn't get the win. And I'm starting to think that Mark Mosley's job is so hard to see them. He had such a tough job when he came in, but it's not got any easier. So they really needed to win that. I think those 2 games that finished 0-0, Grimsby, Colchester, Southend, Stevenage. Didn't surprise me at all. Leyton Orient drawing 1-1 with Scunthorpe was always going to be a low-scoring game because Leyton Orient with Joby McAnuff, who's a guy I really like, he articulates himself superbly well, and I think he's got a bright future in management. But I agree with the club that they need to get more out of that group. But Scunthorpe Cox done a brilliant job to stabilise this team, which looks so certain to be one of those in the relegation battle. They're not completely safe, but I can't see them going down. I think I honestly think it'll be Southend and Grimsby at the moment, based on what I've seen of the performances.
That's the weird thing when you talk about Southend and Grimsby. If you look at the reactions on a lot of Twitter, there's a lot of Walsall fans who think they're doomed. There's a lot of Colchester United fans who think they're doomed. And there's a lot of Port Vale fans who think they're doomed. There's only 2 relegation spots, and none of those 3 are in those currently.
And they've got
Oldham fans that
this is going to be interesting.
The thing is, you need to see Southend and Grimsby picking up 3 points.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. These 3 clubs have got a lot of fans that think we're doomed, we're in bad form. Southend and Grimsby need to get out of that bottom 2 first.
I think Grimsby, I don't want to write them off too early, but I think they're gone.
Yeah.
I just don't, I can see how Southend might turn it around. I just cannot see Grimsby turning it around. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I just can't see it.
No, it's all very well being in bad form, but being above that relegation zone, like you mentioned those clubs, but there's a 5-point gap between Southend and Port Vale at the moment, and Southend are going to have to win at least 2 games and hope Port Vale pick up no points to catch them. Colchester obviously have an extra couple of points as well, so they're not in good form, but I still think Port Vale have they do mathematically, statistically, they have a better chance of staying up than Southend as it stands.
They do. Colchester play Port Vale next Saturday.
Yeah, another huge game. But Walsall, dreadful performance. They need to improve, and Brian Dutt needs to. He can talk about his expansive style and it's a process, but you ain't got long, mate. You know what I mean? No. You need to start winning matches, and you need to give Walsall fans at least some reason to renew their season ticket next year, or at least some reason to think the club are going to start moving in the right direction. He's not done that yet, to be fair. Cheltenham beat Exeter, last game that we've got time for, last game that we haven't discussed. All I'll say is Cheltenham are brilliant. They bounce back, they get a win, get a clean sheet at a very difficult place.
Bentosa throws again.
Bentosa, Mr. Assist, isn't he?
You know what? We're slow reaching the stage, I think, where if you don't have a long throw in your team, you're at a disadvantage. There's a lot of teams that are really starting to make good use of that.
We decided to get rid of ours.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. But brilliant result for Cheltenham. And that result puts them back top of the league. 62 points off 34 games played. Cambridge, like I say, played 2 more, 61. Forest, Green, 61 as well. They've played 2 games less than Cambridge. Only 1 point off the lead. But Newport are right up there again. 57 points, 34 played. Tranmere, 57, 33 played. Bolton, 6th place at the moment, 57 points. They've played a couple more, but their form is by far the best in this division as it stands. Morecambe down to 7th after defeat yesterday. 3 points though, they still have an advantage over Exeter, but who have played 2 games less. And then you've got Salford and Crawley in 9th and 10th. At the bottom, like we say, Grimsby, only 26 points from 33 games. Southend, 30 points from 35. And Barrow have played only 32 games, but they've got the 2-point advantage over Southend as it stands, with Port Vale, Colchester and Walsall just outside that bottom 2. Right, all out of time, I'm afraid. Thank you for listening. We hope you've enjoyed us being back. I've certainly enjoyed doing this again with you guys. Chris, hope you have a good week, mate. Thanks for that.
Yeah, you too.
And Ed, as always, wonderful insight. Thank you for being on the pod.
Always love being part of this, James.
Excellent, and I hope you've enjoyed it, listeners. We'll talk about who ever gets sacked this afternoon after we finish recording next week. And until then, goodbye.